everyone, Lou here. For those new here, I recently got into The Sims 4 after it was made free earlier this year, and rather than some lengthy review about what is basically a virtual dollhouse simulator, I thought it'd be fun to make some of my OCs in The Sims 4. Okay, so for starters, I do use mods and all that for this game, so just throwing a little warning that I'm not playing vanilla because a lot of hairstyles for my OCs are just something the original game just doesn't have, because some of my OCs are inspired by certain time periods. I'll also be largely excluding my OCs based off anime like Demon Slayer, Skate the Infinity, and more, because I picture them so exclusively anime-esque that it's hard to picture them in a more realistic style. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get started. Okay, so I don't know if you guys are familiar with the doll line American Girl, but it's basically a doll line that teaches girls about feminine empowerment through history and contemporary stories. One doll line they have in particular is the Girl of the Year line, which is sort of a time capsule on topics and issues from that certain year in particular, from bullying, sports because of the Olympics, Australian wildfires, Asian American racism due to COVID, etc. In particular, around 2008, I had my own idea for a 2009 Girl of the Year named Reyna. I was a weird kid who loved the show Buzz on Maggie for some reason, and her best friend was where I got her name, by the way. It's also because I think Reyna is just a really pretty name. Okay, so Reyna is about 12 years old, and her whole thing is that she just wants to be a filmmaker after seeing her sister in a grape juice commercial when she was a kid. She's also really determined because her sister moved to New York to become an actress, and she's failing at it to a point where their father is disappointed in them. Their father is a Russian immigrant named Boris Pesky, and their mother is Renee, who is a super successful lawyer. Their father struggled a lot back in Russia and just wants his kids to be successful like their mother, so he wants Reyna and her sister to pursue medicine or law over film and acting. Basically, the story from then on is Reyna showing her parents she's super talented as a director when she enters a film festival with her besties, and her mom is proud of her while her dad is reluctant, but is okay with it now. That's basically it, because, you know, American Girl OCs don't have much to them in comparison to other fandoms, and Reyna is near and dear to my heart because I just love what I was able to come up with at a really young age, and her design, of course. I mean, just as a reminder here, I was like 10 or 11 when I came up with Reyna's design and character. She's a ghost character I made as a teenager. I want to say I was inspired by the movie The Lovely Bones, but I've always loved tortured Victorian and early Edwardian ghosts in shows and movies, so I can't really say it was the inspiration or whatever. Maybe just how she died was the inspiration. Everything else just kind of feels like a steer-off. Growing up, Grace always loved ballet and dancing, so when she was about 9, her parents allowed her to take ballet classes where she basically shined as a prodigy and was extremely happy to dance. The older she got, the more attention she got in their small town for Grace's beautiful dance skills. In particular, her neighbor had been super weird about her since she could remember, but his weird and creepy habits got weirder and weirder as she got older. By the time she was 16, playing the lead in every ballet recital in the big city, her neighbor was full on trying to flirt with her or, like, insist marriage. Being she was alive in the late Victorian era and early Edwardian era, her parents didn't find this as a red flag at all, and simply thought he was just saying some kind of compliment or a sign that she'd just have a lot of suitors when she lived on her own. At 18, Grace was invited to work for a famous French ballet company after being scouted during one of her shows, which totally threw her neighbor into a complete spiral. In France, though, Grace was extremely happy, and many watched her career would climb higher and higher, while her neighbor was stalking her and even found a way to France to enact revenge on Grace for leaving him. It was Valentine's Day 1900. Grace had a performance that night, but her neighbor broke into her apartment and violently took her own life before he took his own. When the media found out about this case from a press release from the French police, her case was super sensationalized, where now the media would frame her like some kind of heartbreaker when all she wanted to do is just live her life and dance. As a ghost, Grace doesn't really haunt her apartment because all she wants to do is find her way back home and be rescued by her family, so she haunts random places around the world in an attempt to someday move on and go home. She used to be really gentle and even outgoing to everyone, but obviously being a ghost, she's consumed by her sadness and is just really shy around others. Aubry is a muse of mine you've probably seen me draw at least once on this channel, and maybe her character in my doll photography. Now, I'll admit, I've largely been embarrassed to share Aubry's story, solely because the origin of her story came from poor trash jokes I made as a kid since I was like 12 or 13 when I came up with this character. Safe to say I've worked harder to try and make her more respectful and appropriate. Keep in mind that a lot of work still needs to be done. Of course, all my OCs are always subject to change since, like, all my OCs were completely different to how they were when I first came up with them. Okay, so Aubry's backstory is that she comes from parents with addiction issues of literally all kinds, abusive and neglectful to their children too. Being the second oldest and seeing her brother as a dog shit brother, she decided to take care of her siblings and chose to personally take care of her sisters out of their family house because it was becoming increasingly dangerous as an environment for children. She moved her sisters into a 2-bedroom apartment, but Aubry can't really pay the rent, so she becomes a escort, if you will, in hopes of making money to give her sisters a good life. Basically, the idea with Aubry was like someday writing her meeting a super rich guy who loves her sisters and her more than anything, so she finally gets that good life. Because hey, who doesn't love a Cinderella story, right? I also might have been inspired by Pretty Woman because I think I saw that movie around the same age. Ryan is also Aubry's older sister, and he's an asshole. He's got drinking problems, he bullied people growing up, caused trauma to one of my OCs actually, cheats on his girlfriends, and left home at 17 and cut off contact with his sisters. Now, the original plan was to make Ryan an I can fix him type. Think maybe like Dangerous Liaisons, where it's a dog shit human being for finally feeling something for once. But I sort of wrote him into an irredeemable hole, so now he's just an antagonist in Aubry's story to shame her and mentally drag her down. Abby doesn't have much to her because she's an OC I neglected as much as her parents did, but basically she's starting to develop Ryan's behavioral issues where she bullies people. But the difference is that she's actually just extremely hurt and conflicted, so she struggles expressing her frustrating life. Basically, a girl needs therapy. Amy is Aubry's baby sister and is secretly her half-sister. Her mother had a run-in with her blue rock candy dealer, if you catch my drift. Since I can't go into full detail on Aubry's parents because YouTube and, YouTube rules. No one but Aubry's mother knows about this, and yes, all the girls' names start with A because her parents are just one of those people who have to name their kid off a theme for some reason. That's pretty much it, if I'm being honest. Not much to this story since I don't really know how to develop it as much as I do other OCs. I don't know, maybe it's because I don't really roleplay them with friends very much, but who knows, maybe down the line Aubry and her siblings will be up higher to my standards. Now, before I start with good old John here, I do have to elaborate that I have this family of vampires that I actually did make in The Sims 4, but their story is genuinely too fucking long and elaborate for a video like this. Like, they seriously need their own video because they're the non-fandom related OCs that I've developed the most over the years because I love vampires. However, recently I've dived into werewolf writing, so this is where Jonathan comes in. He's a werewolf from Germany, mainly because I thought it'd be fun to have an early Edwardian Germanic aesthetic to him, since werewolves really lack that stylish oomph that vampires have. To me, when I think of werewolves in films, I tend to think the 1980s with Letterman jackets and mullets, which is probably what The Sims 4 was inspired by when developing their clothing and hair options for the werewolf pack, but, it's still ugly though. Although werewolves originated in countries like Romania, Hungary, and even France through multiple different stories, and possibly Gilgamesh might have been the origin for the vampire, I did find Google results saying that German-speaking countries did adopt the werewolf folklore sometime around the 1400s, I believe. Just explaining my thought process because I'm a nerd, and a lot of these OCs are set in a contemporary time period, so researching clothing and folklore obviously isn't gonna happen for a lot of them. I mean, what, do I gotta research what a woman my age is wearing in 2023? I already know just from my closet alone. Okay, so Jonathan lives around 1910s or 1920s in a deeply secluded village in Germany, consisting of only werewolves. It's super hidden because werewolves know that it's easy to be hunted down and killed by hunters, so they stay away from all normal humans. Werewolves, in my writing, are also forcefully transformed during a full moon and can only briefly switch from wolf forms when there isn't a full moon. Though in some cases, if a werewolf's desires are strong enough, they can permanently remain a wolf, which is a tradition for every pack member to decide if they want to do that. Oh, and also full moon changes aren't easy, it turns them rabid and wild. Yet Jonathan is a really friendly and outgoing guy, basically a golden retriever given human form if I'm being honest. He'd sneak into the woods and befriend normal humans just to talk with them, which made his parents pissed. Since Jonathan hated knowing he wasn't allowed to be social with other people and hated the restrictions of a werewolf, he chose to leave his pack and never looked back, moving to the big city where he got a job as a mechanic. I loved making his character because I thought it was a really unique way at making a wolf who leaves his pack as a metaphor for leaving their toxic family, I guess. That was kind of what I was going for. Also, I just really wanted to make a massive himbo because himbos are obviously the best choice. With my beloved himbo werewolf, that'll be it for this video. I know this was a really different video, but I like experimenting, so I wanted to try something out and see if it sticks, you know? Let me know down below if you want to see another video like this sometime in the future. I just ask that you guys please don't copy and paste my OCs though. Not because I'm so unique or whatever, because I'm really not. It's just that I've always worried about that when sharing my OCs, so I just want to leave that ending disclaimer here just to ease my anxiety. Did you guys love the video though? Did you hate it? As always, let me know down below. Hey guys, thanks for watching! If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new. If any of you would like to help support my channel in any possible way, my Ko-fi page is down below in the description, along with all of my social media. For any subscribers, new or old, who'd like to help with video ideas, or maybe just want to talk about anime or something, I have a fan server linked down below. See you next time!